Okay, so this is day 3, lesson 3 of 4. Today, the students would be engaging in writing an I am poem, both as an individual and as a class. So it's going to move from an I am poem to a we are poem. And so this is intended to, again, help them with their own understanding of their culture and identity and those facets and intersections of those two things, and then move to the class poem where they're just building community and likeness. So the objective for today is students will be able to work collaboratively and understand the importance of building community to improve relationships and understanding. Again, this is tying to that final project that they're going to be doing. Essential question stays the same with what role does culture play in shaping our school community? So today they're not starting with a quick write, but the engage and do now is you're going to want to place a sticky note on each student's desk, just one single sticky note. Have the student pick one word to describe who they are. Yes, only one word. It should just be one simple word. And this is, or not a simple word, but just one word. And it's intended to be kind of difficult because they're going to really have to think about it, and they might, kind of push back on this one because they're going to want to do more than one word, but just keep it at one word. So once they do that on a separate sheet of paper, which is kind of like their quick write, the students would need to explain why they chose that one word. So why was it so important to them? Why did they settle on that one? What's the significance of it? Why that over others? So discuss some of these words in class. You can have them start with peer discussions and move to group discussions and then to class discussions. That's typically what I like to do, but it does take more time, so you're just going to have to decide on what you want to do. Ask the students, what are some of the words that you used, and just kind of have them explain why they chose that word briefly. Have students save these, and they're going to come back to these in the next activity later in this lesson. And so just have them hold on to those. So after that, you're going to watch the following video on identity. I've provided the link here. You can stop and pause it. I typically, for my class, don't stop and pause. I like them to watch it all the way through. And then after that, we'll go back and do a stop and pause if necessary. So once they've done that, you're going to go to the exploring stages, and we're going to get back to the whole sticky note thing. So you're going to want to discuss the video that you just watched. What are some of the things that make up an identity? And you can make a class list on the board, and you can have them give you one word or word phrases. So after this, you're going to give students another sticky note and ask them to write one more word they feel describes who they are. And again, yes, this is just going to be one single word. So this is where the whole class part is going to come in. As a class, you're going to want them to place their sticky notes on the board or some spot in class wherever they want or wherever you want them to. So have them just put their sticky notes up there. It needs to be random. So just, excuse them one group at a time or whole class and just say, throw your sticky notes up on the board. Use this opportunity to show the students how spread out those sticky notes are, how different they look from one another. So if I were to do this, I would give, different colored sticky notes to kind of represent the differences in identity. And so that way there's kind of that meshing of colors. So have the students, look at how were they placed? Were they all placed straight? Were they placed, slanted or crooked? What does the handwriting look like? Look at the color of the sticky notes and how they're all different, but on the board they've kind of come together. So now what you would do is you would have the students move to categorizing them. So start filtering them and placing them in groups on likeness or sameness. And then this is where the students are going to notice the similarities or the commonalities amongst the class. And this is intended to kind of build that community and bring them together, just like the previous lesson where they were looking at likenesses as well as differences. And then you could have a whole class discussion about this. So what are a lot of the things that were in common, or what were some things that were different? And you'll want them to note the differences just as much as you note the commonalities, because the differences are going to be what potentially drive their project. So if you have, all of these groups where a lot of people match, we can explain to them that those are the things that are usually considered when creating school events or looking at developing school community. But what they really need to be focusing on are the things that didn't really fit, right? Because that's where the inclusion needs to come in. Why weren't they represented, or how can we represent them so that they're not off by themselves? So now that they've got this, students will create an I am poem for themselves. They will use the handout from Read, Write, Think, and I provided a link over here on the right. So this is a very structured piece. So I'll just kind of bring that up real quick. So it is basically already modeled for them, and the example is given, and it's just kind of a fill in the blank type of thing, or organizer. And you can model this with them for yourself, or with yourself, or as an example, but there is an example provided on the right-hand side of the model over here. And then over here, they'll complete the poem. This shouldn't take too long, maybe 5 minutes. You might have some kids who are struggling just because it's hard to choose those specific words. So now that they have their I am poem, you are going to have them in their groups, or as a class, you can decide, create a we are poem. So using the same model as the I am poem, have the class collectively look at those sticky notes on the board, whether it's the commonality or the differences, to create that we are poem. So just replace the we are with, the I am with the we are. Students will use that same formatting. So have this done on a larger group poster, or you can do it on an overhead, or if you have access to certain technologies that allow you to project, you can do that as well. And so again, this is to build that community and that collectiveness, helping them keep in mind both the commonalities and the differences as they move into the fourth lesson, which will be to create or alter a school policy or event. Okay, so for closure, reviewing the objective, maybe going back over some of those guided questions from up at the top. You can have them reflect on what they've learned today. And then their exit ticket, evaluating them, would just really be their materials throughout the lesson, but mostly their poster. That will be their exit ticket. So if you had them do a whole class poster, that's fine. Or if you had them do group posters or partner posters, but you can collect those as their exit ticket and also their original I am poem for them for those individual components. And that would wrap up lesson 3.